project is making a little circle book. When it's folded up, it becomes like a quarter of a circle really, but can be displayed in several different ways, so quite an unusual little structure. Lends itself to working with, cutouts from magazines, maps, as we can see here. The circular name coming from the fact that you can open up the pages and view them in a circular format, which is quite nice. And also the fact that we then construct the shapes of the pages, drawing circles. This one's a photographic example. So folded over, it's quite a springy one. The photographic paper is much thicker, a little bit more tricky to work with, and has a bit of a bounce. It's not quite as pliable as thinner based paper. For example, this one, which used photocopy paper, which is anything from 90 to 120 gram paper. So with the photographic one, quite nice in that you can look at images slightly differently, interact with them, create a little narrative, perhaps display work in a slightly different way, but just quite a nice little unusual format for a book. A glue stick or PVA and a brush, a pair of scissors, a bone folder. This is a Teflon folder, pencil, something. If you don't have a Teflon folder or bone folder, you could just use a piece of card, which you can flatten the edges down. It's for folding really, making good creases. Other cutting options or circle options are little tools like this, but that's absolutely not essential. That's lets you cut circles with a little blade one end and something to fix with that end. But we're being very practical with this session, so we're just using a tin of beans. Basically, we're going to use the circular edge to mark out the paper. So for this particular example, I'm just going to use photocopy paper. So this is about 100 gram paper. So I'm going to use the tin to mark the circles out with. Okay, so starting to fold the circles that we've cut out. One thing to remember is if you do have text or you've got an image that you want to appear the right way up, for example, in this one, your first fold is going to be along the vertical, really. Okay, so that's just one fold that's going to fold in the way. So if I had text going this way, my first fold will be along like this. Get your bone folder, give it a really nice crease. Then the next step is to find your center point along this line here. So you could measure it. And that's roughly, it's about 8 centimeters. So I know 4 is my center point. So I can make a little mark. Or you can just do it by eye really and bring from that center point, bring your two edges down so that they meet. There's no gap in the middle, no gap along here, and they meet along the edge here. And again, get your bone folder or your piece of card, whatever you happen to be using, credit card, anything like that works great. Give that a really good crease. So you now have something that looks like that. Okay, so you're going to just open these out, and we're now going to invert these two folds on the end. So if I open this out slightly and take these two folds, which are now pointing out the way, like a mountain fold, and turn them into a valley fold in there, and the same with the other side. So just open it out, looks like a beak at the minute, and you're just going to push it in. So you get a nice little quarter circle there. Okay, and then that's what it looks like when it's folded in. So again, bone folder, do it both sides so that's nice and stable. Okay, so do that with all of your circles, and once you've done that, we come to the gluing. So the next step is to glue all our pieces together. We've got all our folds done. Just want to attach these to each other. We're going to glue on one side and then attach the other piece, they do move, to that as squarely as possible. So try not to get too much glue on your edges, but you want it enough so that it's going to catch each of them. So you can either use PVA or Pritt stick, and there's several ways of doing it. Obviously you could just open it up and glue that particular section onto a bit of scrap paper, close it over again carefully, and then set your next piece just on top. So, and while it's a little bit damp, just wiggle it into place so it's nice and straight along these edges. You've no overlap, nice and straight there. Give it another little press down to make sure the glue contacts. Let it open up a bit to make sure there's no glue on these other edges where you don't want any. Okay, so you can continue doing that for each of your sections. Just keep gluing. And just when you're about to come to the last one, it's good just to hold on to one piece, or you can in fact start with this, because what you want to do is cut a piece exactly the same size, two pieces, for your cover. So you can use this as a little template. If you've glued all your pieces together, that's fine. Just hold them together in a bunch and do exactly the same thing. So just make a pencil mark around your edges. And yeah, exactly the same size. And just cut those out. Okay, so you need two of those. Once you've got all your pieces glued together and the body of your little book is ready, you have two spare circles. So just take those, set your corner piece and leave approximately about, not quite a centimetre, but about that on each edge. And again, if it helps just to, make some marks for where you're going to trim, you can do that. Okay, and then just cut that. Glue your card. Set it back on. Might just want to double check if you had your cover around a particular way. Okay, so press that in. And then glue your two edges. Actually, sorry, before you do that, just trim the corners. These corner pieces here, just going to trim. Not too tight to the actual corner, but just enough so that it's not going to create bulk once we fold everything in. Okay, so that's the three corner points have been trimmed quite close. So we'll glue the two side edges and just fold them over. If you've got a little bit sticking out there, you can just, with your nail, just push that little edge in before you fold over the second straight edge. Now with this corner, you can either start to, again just tuck that, just fold and pleat as you go, or So this bit's going to be hidden. We're going to glue that into the rest of the book, so don't worry about that. And at this point, if you've got your card or your bone folder, just go over the edge to push those in a little bit. Set it flat on the table again, smooth that down, and you can also just run that around the edge there to smooth it. So, and this should fit your pieces that you've glued. So we just proceed to glue this and attach it to your book block. And it should be quite a snug fit, so you don't want anything sticking out too much over the edges. And then likewise with your other cover that you've made, it goes on your final end to complete your book. So one other thing that you can do is, if you wanted to have it enclosed, you could attach a piece of ribbon before you glue that in. So once you glue this side, attach your ribbon, and then once you complete the book, you're going to have your ribbon attached on each end of the card, and then your book will be attached and you can tie that together. So now I've got the whole book assembled, and I've attached one of the covers and included a piece of ribbon. All the pieces are together. It's a good point just to open them all up individually. Double check there's no glue on the edges, so that, you know, these pieces in the middle aren't sticking together, because they shouldn't be. That should open freely. Okay. And at the top edges. Okay, so I'm just going to put the other cover on, which I've just glued together. Okay, and then just carefully attach that. Check everything's lined up. And trim your ribbon ends. A nice little bow. It's a good idea to, again, just double check that everything's opening up, nothing's stuck where you don't want it to be, and then to set that under a weight, which could be a book or just a heavy little weight, to let that flatten in. And there you go, there you have your book.